Hi, everyone. We're going to give everyone just another minute here. Looks like we got some people still coming in. So while we're waiting, my name is David King. I'm with Appulate. Um, Here's my contact information. I'm sure most of you got the email. That's how you have my information. Everyone is currently in muted mode. So we're going to wait until the very end for questions and answers. I have some questions that are normally asked in a lot of my demos that I do, so I can answer some of them right at the end, and then of course we'll dive directly into your individual questions. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. So about me, again, my name is David King. I'm with Appulate. I myself was a insurance agent for about 4 years. So I know a lot of the struggles that agencies go through personally. I've been through them. So hopefully that what you find with this demo today will be very exciting for you, and you'll maybe learn a new few things about what we offer and what we can do for you. So we're going to go ahead and start with just our value proposition here. So we polled a very large amount of our users, and we came back with some numbers on submission times and savings. So with the average submissions of about 40 submissions a month, the average agent came back and said they saved about 37 minutes per submission, and there was about a 25 hours total time saved throughout the month. We quantified this into a number of about $7,000 time saved per agent. So how does it all work? So I'm going to show you next how we do it. So I'm going to use just a standard Accord. We'll go in a little deeper on how to actually get this set up and whatnot, but for now we're just going to use a standard Accord. So I'm just going to pull this Accord up here, and for today's demo we're just going to use a workers' comp Accord. And what we do with this is we convert this into our system with what's called an Uplink driver. So this is a printer driver that gets installed from our platform, which I'll show you how to do a little bit later. You can also use any agency management system to uplink this. It's compatible with all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and click print here. Okay, and so what this has done is it's taken all the data off of the Accord form shown here, and it's bridging this data into our platform. So it's just taking all that data and moving it in for you. We verified this is a workers' compensation. We're going to go ahead and hit continue. So the first thing we get, this is called our landing page. If you notice, we've highlighted the Q&A section. This is right where we start. In the upper left corner here, it says Golden Apple Nursery. This is the applicant's name, which is shown right there, as well as this is an estimated start date. I know this is a little old dated, but it's going to be just fine for our demo today. Down here, if you notice, there's a lot of information that's been carried in. This is again the data that's come from the Accord. So just to show you, like, there's coverage history for losses, some underwriting questions have already been answered from this. But as we go through, of course, we'll need to add more. So we're going to add the 4 key markets that we use, or excuse me, the 4 market icons that we use. I'm going to cover those with you right now. Okay, so with our platform, there's 4 different types of icons. So the first kind of icon is an Appulate style submission. That's shown here with the clover leaf. The next one is the ESubmission style. And then we have Weblink. And the last one we have is the email. So we're going to do a deeper dive into each of these right now. So with the Westlake GA, I'm going to remove some of these just for the purpose of the demo today to speed things up so we don't have a million underwriting questions to answer. Okay. So this particular one, if we look at it here, has a lightning bolt next to it. This can some have lightning bolts, some do not. What the lightning bolt signifies is that we can do an automatic quote in the system. So this allows us to rate, quote, and bind all in the system without actually having to do any emailing to an underwriter or anything. You're able to get a complete quote and bind it if you choose to do so. If it does not have the lightning bolt, you'll be communicating through the underwriter in the platform as opposed to getting an instant quote back. So for today's demo, we're just going to do the instant quote. So if we go over to here, we notice we have a D for declined. And the reason why this is instantly saying it's declined is the FEIN we use for our demos. This is the same one we use for all of them. So I just need to change this just for our demo today. But this isn't something you would normally need to change. So this is what you would normally see when you're going through the system to do one. So we have an orange A. We need to get it to a green A in order to move forward. So with this, there's a couple different ways we can complete these questions. So the first one, if you notice when I highlight over it, it's clickable. So I'm going to click it, and it's going to instantly take me to a question that I need to answer for the underwriting. So I'm just going to hit no on this one. Now there's more additional questions that need to be answered. So I can either keep clicking these and go through that way, or I can do the required unanswered questions. So these are questions that are required by the underwriters, and this is only those. So with this, I could go 0 here, 0 here, 0, no, 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 0, and yes. And let's see, did that answer them all? Yep. So now we've answered all the questions, and the only thing left is the loss runs. So with this, let me expand this window out just a little bit more here. So with this, what we're going to do is we're going to use our loss runner feature. So from the Q&A, there's forms, and then there's loss runs shown right here. So now we're going to click this icon, and what we're going to do with this is this opens up our loss run tab. Now, if there's multiple previous carriers, you'll have a list of these shown here. So I'm going to go back to the Q&A and show you where it's breaking all this down here. So under coverage history off of the Accord, this is where we're getting this data from. So we're going to go back into loss runs. So it's pulling all the loss runs from 2013 to 18. So there's two icons down here. First one is if we already have the loss runs, we can simply upload them into the system. If we do not have the loss runs, we can send a request. And this is where the loss runner tool really comes in. So at the very top, we'll start. There's 4 different types of letters to choose from. These are pre-filled in. You can add an image here if you want to add one. It's totally up to you. This is on behalf of Golden Apple Nursery. Today, we're just going to do the letter of authorization. So let me scroll down here. So Agora West is who we're ultimately sending these to. This is their contact information shown here. We're going to click edit if we wanted to edit this. Maybe we wanted to send it to an email address instead of a fax, whatever way you want to send it to. Here's the policy numbers with the periods, sending it out to them. This is where we're requesting it being sent back to. And then if you notice down here, it says insured signature. What this is going to do is once we fill out this data here of the insured's information, and then we hit send, this is going to send a document out electronically. It's going to send them a link. And with this link, they're going to simply click on it. They don't need to log in or anything. So your insured will click the link. It'll open up an electronic document signature. They'll sign it. And then once they hit send on their end, it's going to instantly send this out to the fax number shown here. So you don't need to worry about asking them to go get the loss runs. This is going to basically just keep the chain moving, saving you the time of needing to go through and email them, get it back from them at the signature, and then sending it back out. So it just removes those extra couple steps out, saving you time. Another really nice feature that's attached to the bottom down here is our follow-up feature. And what this will do is if you set it out for say 20 days or 30 days, what this will do is it'll email you a reminder that you have this request pending. Now, if you're like me, when I was an agent, 90% of the time they sent them directly back to my insured. So I'd have to follow up with the insured to get that information. So with this will remind you via email that, hey, you need to go follow up with them if you haven't got them already. So if we hit send, this would send this out to wherever it's going, and then we'd get those back. So we're going to go ahead and assume that we've gotten these back. So I'm just going to add those in here. So now once we've added those, we now have a green A. So, and again, because this is a automatic quote, we can go ahead and hit submit right now. When we hit submit, it is that fast. We now have a proposal back. So I'm going to quickly open this just to review it to make sure it looks okay. So it looks like we have everything here. Estimated premium, shows commissions, what the coverages are. This is a much bigger breakdown of all the cost. There's a detach for form if you want here. If you want to get a signature page here. So now what we can do, there's 3 main options here. We can either send it to get a signature, we can send it to email for review, or if we're already appointed, we can simply click here. And in this case, I'm not appointed, but if you're already appointed, you could click this and you would go in and you would bind this policy if it was approved. And it's that easy. With the Appulate style automatic quote generation, it would be that easy to bind this quote. We'd be done. If it did not have this, this would say a U right here, which means sending it off for an underwriter approval. And we would click the same thing and we would send it out to get an underwriter to get the underwriter to approve to start that transaction. All right, so that is the Appulate style submission. The next one we have here is our ESubmission style. So with this is a little different than the Appulate style. However, both of these markets, we've directly partnered with them. So that means that they are, they have allowed us access into their systems, and that's how we're able to integrate sending data back and forth. So with this one, we're going to hit submit here. And then we're going to go complete submission. And what this is going to do is this just took all this data off the Q&A section that we have here, and it moved it into here. So it's going to pre-populate these forms for you. Now, if you notice, it didn't pre-populate everything. There are still going to be questions that you need to answer, but it's basically business as usual. So as you go through this, let's say I hit no here, and I answer all these and I hit next, it's going to continue to populate data as it has the availability to do so. But in the spots that it doesn't have the data, you'll need again to populate those fields. When you get to the end, you'll get your quote. And again, it's business like usual. You'll still need to either contact underwriting, or maybe you need to email the underwriter, whatever direction you need to go, you still need to complete that. But this is just saving you the time of having to pre-fill all this or having to fill all this information in. All right, so that is the ESubmission. So now what I always recommend doing is taking the quote once you're done with it and uploading it back into the system. So I've completed the quote here. So at this point, for just the system for reporting, I could go in and I could bind it. I could email this to the client, or if I didn't want to do this, I could simply email whatever quote I got like I would normally do. But again, it's just about the savings of time when you're using the ESubmission as well as the Appulate style submission. So the next icon we have is Weblink. Now Weblink is designed for those markets that we have not yet partnered with, but we wanted to give a very similar feel to the submission style. So we're going to use AmTrust as just an example today. And with this, all you have to do is hit submit. So once we submit, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to log us in. And what it's doing here is, if you notice this guy up here, it's this called Weblink. And what this is doing is it's doing all the work for us. If you notice, it just filled in all the data for us. And at this point, we hit continue. And then at this point, I could click this and I could continue through a quote. I'm not going to continue this any further than this point, but I just wanted to show you how simple and easy it is to use this. Now, your Weblink is going to be for some of your larger markets like Safeco, Hartford, Travelers, AmTrust, obviously, Progressive. A lot of your really big carriers that we've not yet partnered with are where you're going to get this Weblink feature from. If you notice down here, some of these are asking for additional questions. With the Weblink, it's not required. You can just straight submit. However, in order to do the submissions, it has to be green with this one down here. And then the last one we have is our email style submission. So for any markets that we don't have these three icons for, we're going to have the email style submission. So with this, it's going to be very similar to what you've used before. So I'm just going to choose, with here, you can actually pre-fill in names of underwriters or people that you need to send this to. So I'm going to hit submit here. And what this is going to do is it's basically going to be a different kind of a take on an email. So what this does here is, so we've already got pre-filled in who we're sending it to. It's on behalf of me, and I'm going to send all this Accord data. If I need to add additional, I can set up additional forms here. If I need to upload more files, I can upload more files. We can fill in all this information down here, a synopsis or whatever we want to fill in for additional information. And then one really neat feature that we do offer, this is great for renewals, is a schedule. So if you want to schedule this out for, a few hours to a few weeks to another time, or a month or two out because you're doing a renewal, this is a great little feature. And best of all, what this really does is this actually it looks as though it's coming out of your personal email box. So when it's being sent, it doesn't say it's coming from Appulate. It just shows as though you had sent out this email. So at this point, after you send this or you schedule it for submission, when you get replies back, they'll come into your normal email box. But this is just allowing you to keep all the submissions in just one small area. There is other things you can do here as well. You can do delivery notification, read notification, copy it to me, whatever you want to do. So hit cancel there. So that is the main breakdown of all the icons that we have. So the next section that I want to cover is the Forms tab here. So with Forms, we can do multiple things with our forms here. We can click several of them, and we can either get as one PDF, or we can go back through. Let's say I want to edit this accord here. I can either do the Q&A, or I can do inline. And inline, of course, looks just like the accord that we started with. But here's where it's really neat. So Appulate, everywhere that has these little pencil icons, all these are linked. So if I look at this accord here and I see this date, and then I look at this accord here, it's got the same date. But if I change it to today's date, and then I go back over to this accord, the data has linked together. So whenever I make a change to any of these forms, including supplementals, it's going to pre-fill out the information that is relevant on any of these forms. So as you notice, all these have been answered. These may not be all the exact questions that they needed, but this looks like pretty much all of them are already in here. So we're going to go back to here. All right, so that is answered there. And then the last part of the demo is going to be just the activity tab shown here. With the activity tab, this shows you a snapshot of everything that was done from the time the account was created to when we upload the form to when we answered these questions here. So what did we break down? We got, this is our loss run. So we've got proposals. So as you can tell, there's a lot of information here. This is great from a management standpoint to be able to go view what your agents have been submitting, as well as it's a great snapshot for due diligence for E&O and things like that. So that is really the heart of the demo today. I have a couple questions already that are very common. So one very common question asked is, are we a carrier or MGA? So Appulate is not a carrier or MGA. We are a submission platform, really. So we're a technology company that allows carriers and MGAs, as well as agents, to connect on our platform to submit. So we don't do any lines of business. We don't submit. We just allow you easy access and time savings to submit to those markets that you normally submit to already, as well as other tools like a loss runners, forms editing, things like that. How many agencies/agents or users do we currently have? We currently have about 30,000 agencies and about, I think the last poll is about 79,000 agents in our system. And then the last one is, if I'm interested, how do I get started /set up with Appulate? If you wanted to get set up with Appulate, basically at the end of our call, I'm gonna reach out to everybody and ask if you had any additional questions. At that time, feel free to respond back and ask me for pricing or any other additional questions that you might have. If you need another demo for maybe a senior level person on your team to see, we can certainly set that up as well. Do know I get very busy after the webinars, so I'll try my best to respond back as quickly as possible, but I will definitely try to get that. So now what I'm going to do is if anybody has any questions, I recommend you go to the, actually it looks like we do have a question here from someone. Let's see. Can app be submitted without loss runs? Yes and no. So if you submit it without loss runs up here, yes. But when we get down here, if it's a requirement, it will not let you submit without the loss runs on this particular tab for the Appulate style submission. Because if I remove the loss runs out, let's see if I can delete this. Well, actually, I've already submitted it, so it's too late now. But if I tried to submit it, this would still be in an orange submit, not allowing me to proceed. So you cannot get that quote without those loss runs. If anybody has any additional questions, you can raise your hand under the attendees panel, and I can wait a moment for anybody that might have any questions. All right, well, I guess nobody has any additional questions here. Oh, there we go. We got some questions. Okay. All right, Raphael, I've unlocked you. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, David. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, so we are already in with Appulate. Our agency is.
Okay.
And I'm interested in getting more training for Appulate. Do you offer any one-on-one training or group training?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Sarah, our agency ambassador, who does all of our onboarding and trainings, can certainly help your agency. Shoot me an email real quick if you wouldn't mind, and just ask the same thing you're asking right now, and I'll get that forwarded
Gotcha.
off to Sarah, and she'll schedule some time with you guys.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, and we've got, looks like I'm trying to, till they enter a PIN. So Guy, I'm trying to get you unlocked here, but it looks like it's saying you need to enter a PIN. I'm not quite sure what that is. Okay, let's see here. Okay, here we go. Okay, looks like that was Guy's question. Oh, Eric already left. Will this webinar be available in PowerPoint to review later? It is not available on PowerPoint. However, we are recording this. So at the end of this, if you would like, Matt, go ahead and send me an email that you would like a copy of the recording, and I can send you a link, because I believe we're going to put this on YouTube as well. But I'll certainly get you a link for that. Yeah, Guy, that's a great question. How do we get a list of carriers you work with? There's a couple different ways to do this. So I'm going to try to do this the easiest way. So the first one is, if you're already in the system, you can click the available markets tab. So you go to markets available, and down here, this will show you all the markets we have available. So right now we've got about 3,711, and that doesn't include the ones that I've already selected here just for my demos. So that's what, roughly 3,720. Also, if you come and you find out that there's no, that someone that you need to use is not in the system, all you need to do is email us and we'll get them added. It's very rare that it happens, but sometimes it does. Maybe you work with a specialty agency that we may not have added into that, like a limousine carrier or something like that, that's maybe not in the system already, but we would certainly love to get it added. We just need to get that from you. And let's see here. Are we able to view today's webinar again? Unfortunately, I got stuck in a call. Yeah, yep, I'm certainly going to do that. If you, it looks like Caitlin, if you can send me an email, Caitlin, requesting that link as well, I would certainly take care of that for you. And then it looks like Guy sent again, see question above. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm getting email pretty heavy. Well, I can do Eric's question here. Will the email sent to the insured show that it came from the account manager sending the request? Yeah, any emails that get sent out from the system are set up through your email. So I don't know if you noticed when I was doing this earlier, when we were in here and I went to the email tab, for example. So on the email tab, if you notice, it's asking to configure your mail server up here. This is part of the onboarding setup that we do with our, if you had heard earlier, Sarah, who's our agency, she helps out with the agency for setup and onboarding. She'll help you guys configure your mail server when you get set up with the platform. But once this is set up, again, it'll look as though it came out of your email box already. So you don't need to worry about it coming from Appulate or anything like that. It'll be coming from you. And any additional questions, anyone? Okay, well, if there's no, looks like Raphael's got another question here. Did you have another question, Raphael?
Yeah, real quickly. So when you're submitting to a carrier that's not an instant quote from you guys, do you get a confirmation that the submission has been received by the carrier and the market's blocked?
Yeah, so all the ones except for the Appulate style submission, it's going to be business like usual. So when as you're processing through that quote, if you would normally get an email from them, or you would normally get a PDF at the end, whatever the normal way of submission is, it's going to be that, because all the system is doing at this point is, so I'm just going to click arrowhead again for an example here. What we're doing is we're taking the data that's from here, and we're pre-populating it for you, saving down the rekey time.
Gotcha. Okay, so you just whatever normal submission receipt you get from the carrier or the wholesaler, you would just get that like you would normally, like if you submitted directly.
That's correct. Yeah, and it's going to be,
okay.
If you get any hangups or hiccups, it's the exact same thing. You're just, I try to use that word business like usual, but it really is like, if you were to have gone into the system on your own normally, this is exactly what you would have seen normally. It's just it's pre-filling a lot of this data for you, saving you time.
Thank you, David.
You're very welcome. And Guy, I apologize. I really want to get you on here, but it's saying there's a PIN required, so I apologize for that. If you want to email me this question, Guy, to my email address, please feel free to do so, and I'll certainly get that question answered for you. Are there any additional questions, anyone? All right, well, if there's no additional questions today, we're going to go ahead and end it right here. I really do appreciate everyone for showing up and asking the questions that you did. And again, if you want a copy of today's webinar, just shoot me an email requesting a copy of it, and in a couple hours, I'll get that out to you. Thank you so much for showing up today. Have a great day.